Welcome back to a very special episode of 3x3 Hustle Hype. This is your host, Greg Heyer, 3x3 Asia Cup champion and World Cup participant for Australia. And I am absolutely pumped to introduce my next guest all the way in the Botanical Gardens in Melbourne, but actually only in his home. And that is Australian head coach, Dave Biwer. How are we doing, mate?
Not too bad, not too bad. You know, COVID's trying to get the better of us, but you know, everything is okay other than that.
We're going to go through, we'll go through the very start of your career from a abalone diver in Tasmania, and then obviously as a pathways manager for Australia. But in this, as you spoke about, you have a beautiful family, beautiful daughter. How has lockdown treated you guys in terms of the whole dynamic? And then I guess, are you in lockdown right now?
I mean, yes, we are in lockdown. We are in stage 3 lockdown. So
again,
you know, I'm a little handy on the tools. So I'm renovating the house and doing all those things. So, you know, with Macy, I have actually 6 kids. With Macy, she lives with me. And, you know, kind of as an eye opener to the fact that, you know, we spend our lives working so hard to provide, as a lot of times, you know, that's what my father taught me to do, is to provide. And we miss out on all this little stuff of hanging out with your kids. So, you know, behind this, there's a real blessing that me and Macy get some more time together.
Absolutely. Mate, the girls, I've seen it on social media, the girls have started back playing at MSAC, I think, or you've been doing that. I know the Boomers and the Opals and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure they were pretty eager to get back out on the court, and was there a little bit of rust the very first few sessions?
Yeah, I saw a little bit of rust out there, and everyone is eager. I'm sure the guys in WA and yourself is eager, even though you're an older dude now and retired. You're probably still trying to get back out on the hardwood. So there's a lot of bodies, you know, texting and calling to try and get involved. And most trainings we have somewhere between 8 and 10. We got the regular suspects out there, but then we got a lot of new people like Lauren Scherf and Georgia Pino, Chelsea D'Angelo. She had a bad injury yesterday, but there's some new bodies out there that's pretty inspiring.
Let's strip it all back. You've been playing 5-on-5 your whole life. You played.
Yeah.
I've heard your claim to fame. You're a rookie at the NBL at the ripe old age of 36.
36. Yep.
I mean, that's an amazing task in itself. And how the heck did you get into 3x3? Because I'm the ripe old age of 32 when I found 3x3. But I mean, how did you transition from you had been Nunawading's head coach and then 5-on-5 your whole life to then getting into 3x3?
Well, I guess like all of us, we transitioned somewhat. And I was talking to someone just the other day. I don't know necessarily that you have to choose one sport or the other. And the more that I'm, you know, dealing with 3-on-3, the more I find it a valuable tool towards, I'm currently the head coach in Nunawading Spectres as well in the 5-on-5. So I feel like it's an awesome tool to building the 5-on-5. But for me, it all came from Pete Lonigan, who's heads up the high performance stuff at BA. And we'd happened to be sitting down at an Oz Championships, and he was talking to me about needing to get a 3-on-3 team over to Asia or something like that. So myself, Darren Perry, and Anthony Stewart got on basically at that time a Zoom call, which was basically a conference call without the word Zoom in front of it. And we made our selections out of people that had never played the game, and none of us had ever coached the game either. And as the phone was hanging up, Lana was like, "Hey, does any of you guys interested in coaching?" And so being Darren Perry, Dave Biwer, and Anthony Stewart, we were all too cool to say yeah. But as soon as I hung up the phone, I called Lano back on the private. It was like, I'm in if you'll have me. And it looked like an exciting game. And, you know, I definitely didn't pattern my game on you, but, you know, your physicality and my physicality is somewhat similar. Our jump shots are different. Jump shots are very different. But, you know, this game was so physical, and, you know, it was a natural attraction for me once I saw it. And then once I felt it, just like you hear across the world, you become addicted. And yeah, I love it to this day. And I can't say that I have more passion for 3-on-3 than 5-on-5, but I've played 5-on-5 since I was 5. And 3-on-3 is new. So it's like a new girlfriend. It's pretty attractive to me. So I love the 3-on-3 game. I love the 5-on-5 game. But, you know, 5-on-5 takes me to Albury Wodonga. 3-on-3 takes me to Amsterdam. So, you know, I love Albury. I love Albury, but, you know.
I'm with you because I was fortunate enough to win 4 NBL championships and retired.
Oh,
but
did
then
you?
In a space of 6 months, I was in Puerto Rico, Amsterdam, Philippines, China. Yeah, like I was able to retain my platinum status on Qantas, which is something you don't like.
That's true.
It opens many doors.
Too many
secret doors. So obviously those first impressions is that physicality. Did you sort of like, was there any hesitation, apprehension? Were you like, man, this is a weird game? Or were you just, knowing you embraced it and went, yeah, I'm rolling with it?
I'm embracing it. When I watched it, you know, Paul Maley, also involved with Basketball Australia, is not only a colleague in terms of business, but a good friend of mine. So he had been to a World Cup. So he was like, watch this video, watch this one. And me, like everybody else, immediately was like, but why are they letting them foul them so much? Like, this is ridiculous. So at first I was like, it looked like ballroom brawling, except with a basketball in the middle. So like when you were little and somebody had the ball and everyone tackled that guy with the ball, it seemed a little bit like that. But then once you get into it, you understand it's like checkers and chess. There's just slightly different rules, but it's organized chaos. And for the Australian public who loves rugby and AFL and the physicality which is associated with both of those games, you see it with the AFL, they're taking the physicality out, you know, somewhat. Where with 3-on-3, it's like taking this, what they call a non-contact sport, and saying, yeah, hit them a little bit. So I think it's a perfect fit for the Australian culture once they embrace it. It's definitely a perfect fit for me.
Absolutely. What's been like the growth then? Because obviously, what year did you become, you mean a head coach, but then you were officially the National Pathways Manager a few years ago. Have you seen, and we'll touch on the differences between the women's team and the men's team?
Yeah. I remember this. I think this is the best example that I got. I don't know for those that have followed 3-on-3, but they remember the Tom Garlett 2 in the Asian Cup to win it. If you re-watch it, Tom Garlett doesn't know that he won. Like, he didn't know the rules. So he's hit this 2. The guys like Stilo and Tom Wright knew that he had won, but the guy shooting the ball was oblivious.
He might have been exhausted as well.
Nah, man. He might not tell you the truth. I'm telling you, he had no idea that he won. I think he thought he had to win by 2, not just first to 2. So I think nowadays we're walking into tournaments without the experience of the other team, but we have experience. So I think that's the major difference. And, you know, like my daughter Macy, you know, when she says a new word, I'm excited. I don't need her to, you know, recite the Constitution just yet. So with 3-on-3 as well, I think we're moving all in the right direction, and it doesn't need to be like Novi Sad just yet. But, you know, the people like yourself, the talent that you're bringing, Conrad, Tommy and Stilo and Waxy, you know, you're starting to see the men's side of it really start to compete. And if you watch us in the World Cup, we're basically one basket away against Poland to, you know, going on in a pool that 2 of the 3 were in the Final 4. You know, so we're definitely competitive. You know, even though the girls get a lot of airtime, the boys are boys are equally competitive.
It's just because I don't have cheese grater abs, mate.
Well, or a jump shot. If we could just get you a jump, but I'm just kidding.
Let's talk about the rise of the women's game, and obviously it's a fantastic thing. They really are the poster child of 3x3 in Australia, and they're really rolling with the growth of it all. What did you see as the key reason, I guess, last year? Maybe, and I know the answer, but what did you see as, why were they so dominant on the World Tour, Asia Cup, and so close in the World Cup?
I mean, without taking away from the men's side, the level of athlete that we're attracting is opal type. All of them have been right there on the border of the opals for last 3 or 4 years. So with the economies of women's basketball, I think opportunity for women in sport, they take it up a bit more than, let's say, the highest paid players such as LeBron versus Liz Cambridge. It's just not quite as fair. So that's the reason I think we're getting the type of women's players that we're getting. And like I said, no disrespect to the guys, but most of the guys, Timmy, I think, made an Asia Cup team recently, or was it Asia Cup?
Yeah.
So at the end. So right there, and Waxy, I think, has been borderline.
Come off games, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not saying we're far off, but Beck, Alice, Maddie, we're now talking to Kelsey Griffin. Like she's, she was a lock just a little while ago. Keely Frawling is just becoming better and better, a real, knockout in WNBL this last year. So, I feel like a lot of the success comes from the talent that they walked into the game with, because we're not walking in with Novi Sad type experience. We're walking in with Australia being a good basketball country and taking those skills learned in 5-on-5 and trying to learn the game of 3-on-3 at that same time. And, there's a bit of talent out there.
Absolutely. Has the prep started for the Olympic qualifiers for next year in Australia?
Yeah, it's weird for us because, as you know, most of the prep is maybe the day before we're on a plane or during the plane, and then we try and find an outside court or some sort of court on a Friday or Saturday or whatever, or a Thursday, and then we practice for like an hour, and then we're playing without a scout, any of that. So right now we're sitting in MSAC. On the other end is the Opals, which is fantastic, and there's starting to become some real cohesion between the two. I'm starting to see a lot more that it's us and not us and them. So I'm liking that, and we get to fine tune some of the little stuff that we never get to talk about, like on the airplane or on an outdoor court 20 minutes before the game. So it's exciting. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm going to blow smoke up your backside here because I've said it that
I don't self-promote enough,
Nah, but more so, I've said I've been fortunate enough, and I'll self-promote. I won 4 championships, but I've been coached by some.
I keep forgetting that.
Yeah, no, I'll let you know. I should have brought my rings. But but yeah, I've been coached by some fantastic coaches over my career, and I would say, arguably, you've been one of my. I think a coach that could transition from 5-on-5 to 3x3, which I would think wouldn't be an easy task, but I think someone that, if it was to coach an NBL side, would have no qualms at all as being a very respectable coach. Like I would have loved to have been coached by you in 5-on-5. So there's my smoke in your backside.
I like that.
But the reason why is because there's you're talking about prep, but I think a lot of it is the passion in the game, and we talk about it. It's just the simple side of the game that why we become basketball players. And I want to gauge your philosophies, I guess, on 3x3, because we've had this discussion many of times. Like, yeah, you do your scouts, so you understand people's mentalities, but I want to dig a little bit deeper into why there's contrasting styles in coaching, like, and I'm sure it's just like 5-on-5, but I want to talk to you about why you're not too invested into the makeshift and the plays, but more so about your own personal play and getting people feeling confident about themselves.
Yeah. It's a good question. I thought we were just going to talk a little bit of smack to one another, but now you're getting serious. So, I mean, without seeming too philosophical, I think coaches should coach and not make it about themselves. You've got a group of people that you're trying to make the best version of themselves on a basketball court. And in my opinion, it's about the simplicity of the game that makes it so complex. Like, that's my favorite thing. And I believe there are coaches out there, I'm not naming names or anything, that want to make it more about themselves.
No, go ahead, name names.
Yeah, no. But I do believe that that's out there. They're running so much X and O's to get a mid-range shot that you could get just with a simple mismatch. And, a lot of times when I happen to watch a game back that I coached, I can hear the commentators almost in a not condescending way, but kind of in a, oh, look how simple they play the game. And for me, I don't use basketball for self-belief. I have my own self-belief. I have a lot of flaws, don't get me wrong, but I believe in myself, and I don't use basketball to make myself feel better. So I just want Greg Heier to be the best version of him. I want, Simon Kahn to be the best version of him, and so on and so forth. And I haven't won was it 4 NBL championships? Was it 4?
Yeah.
But I've done a lot of winning, both as a player and as a coach. And I think the simplicity is the answer, and that passion. Coaches don't write up on the board, be more skilled. They don't. They talk about play harder, don't, out hustle, 1%ers. Those are the type of things that I think make the difference between a championship team and a second, third, fourth, and fifth type team. So, absolutely. Yeah, I guess. Did that answer the question? Because
no,
a little blurry. A little blurry.
No. Well, I mean, we have a laugh because you don't have time. You like, as you say, you speak on the plane for an hour. And I mean, we had an Oz camp. I went to Puerto Rico. We watched some footage. And even before a game, you're watching some plays, and you might be watching one team live.
Yep.
But as you know, they might have a completely different lineup. But you've always harped on, like, don't be worrying too much about them. And as you start worrying about them, you start forgetting about your own simplicities, and you struggle. So, no, it's good. I don't think it gets spoken enough about culture, though. Like, I'm not using culture as a buzzword. It's an unbelievable environment around the Oz camp, right? There's actually, there's excitement, joy, happiness. And organically, I think that's a thing that I would imagine Novi Sad, maybe they've been together for so long. But I'm talking about the successful nations teams. And you might not have placed emphasis, maybe you have, but what have you felt like because I feel like you've organically made this really healthy environment between the men's and the women's side. And talk to me about why. I mean, you're spending ridiculous amounts of time with each other. It's a sort of a very close environment that if you hate each other, that's going to be found out. It's not like on 5-on-5. I had teammates I didn't like, but I'm barely around them.
No one knew, right?
Yeah.
That's an interesting one, because I think for the players that are listening out there, you're on a road trip and the coach tells you at 1:00 we're going for a walk, and Thursday night we're going to dinner together. And then they talk about culture. They talk about culture, which to me is like a forced culture. I hated going on a walk. I hated it. I didn't want to go to dinner with everybody. Like, I loved them out on the court, and we would laugh and have fun, but we weren't all the same. So for me, I think that word culture gets thrown around a lot. and I think it's incorrectly used. I think it's like a force culture where I think like the way we lay it out, I don't ever tell you guys where to be or what to do, but I make sure that when you're on the court, you guys look like you love each other. And ironically, that blossoms in to loving each other off the court. And I mean, seeing you guys, you fellas in the crowd, I didn't tell you had to be there. You guys were all cheering on the girls loud. And, you know, there was some nights, I'm not sure I'm supposed to say that it would have been harder to get up in the morning, but you guys were still there. And I know that the girls love that side of it. And I think it's organic. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, we definitely we don't talk about culture ever.
And
I think
say
that's
this all the time.
Yeah.
I say this all the time. You know, I did win 4 championships, and
I keep forgetting.
Culture was this word that's thrown around like strongest culture. And then like I look at the championships that we've won, and then I'm like, yeah, absolutely, no doubt. There was like principles of culture, like holding people accountable and, you know, communicate, like, and the strong culture. But then there was some where I'm like, that wasn't all out that was made to be. Like what you see in the business world as a strong culture was like, I'm not saying it was a bad thing, but that just didn't happen. It was just on the outside, it looked good. It wasn't like on the outside, like in the inside, people were arguing and like it was this hunky dory. But that's why I love, like when you spoke about the opportunities, like traveling the world, but in those environments that you get on a plane, sometimes you don't meet, and I feel like maybe you don't, but like the players you've recruited aren't that arrogant, you know, like they have to be personal. They need to be able to have a laugh. They need to be being able to be made fun of. You know, like, and we play against the women's side for practice, like, you know what I mean? And you have to like lower your guard down and go like, this isn't, you know what I mean, for me, and not be precious. And I feel like that's a big part of like you and that reason of success. So yeah, but I don't think it gets spoken about enough, because I think you can be precious, especially when you're playing 5-on-5 to the 3x3 world, which isn't glorious. Like, it gives you an opportunity to play, but there's a lot of makeshift sort of stuff that you've got to do on the run.
Yeah, I think when you compare the two, there's more intimacy with the 3-on-3. And, you know, we've all had that coach that tries to be your friend. And you've also had that player that we call cancerous on the 5-on-5. But I don't know if you've watched Cesar Millan. Have you watched Cesar Millan? The dog whisperer. So Cesar Millan, let's just say Cesar Millan was me. I try to fix the dog to start with. I try to say, hey, this is how it is. But if you have the right culture, if I can't fix it, I can just send them in with the other dogs, and those teammates all around him teach that dog how to behave amongst the group. And that's what you guys do. I'm not calling any of you dogs, don't get me wrong here. But you guys, when there's that type of atmosphere out there, you know, some of the cool goes down. And then I keep using the word organically. We organically become friends. And that becomes the biggest hurdle between a player and a coach, is now all of a sudden I accidentally become friends with one of my teammates. And now I think it's actually harder for the friend, the player, than the coach to handle those two faces or those two elements where, oh, Dave was just making fun of me, and now he's making me do, you know, 4 suicides and 42 push-ups. And, you know, I know that that's one of my strengths, is that I can turn off the friendship immediately and do my job. But on the other side, you 8, you know, my core 8 or core 10, you're all very good at letting, you know, me and Damon and I coach and also have that intimate relationship that comes with 3-on-3. You can't help it unless, you know, you're an unlikable dude. But
absolutely. And one takeaway from this podcast is that from now on, I'll be calling you Caesar. Like,
Caesar Milan. I mean, all you gotta do is watch one episode, and you'll see what I'm talking about. He just, if he can't fix it, he just puts them in with the rest of them, and he's like, they'll be sweet.
There we go.
You know?
We're going to finish off with a couple the pathways, I guess, of junior 3x3. But I want to talk about the makeshift of a good 3x3. What makes the success of a good 3x3 player? I want to ask you what, if you were, as the national head coach, what are you looking for? Like obviously it's a guy that may be transitioning with his hairstyle at the moment with like a top knot, quite muscular. Maybe a guy that's won 4 championships. Great teammate.
Butter
great rebounder. Yeah. Smooth jumper.
No,
but in all seriousness, what are you looking at? Like if you're looking at both sides and you're looking at your squad.
Well, I know it's going to sound weird because we have to take some of the general characteristics of a good basketball player and just say, they have that. But
absolutely.
the first thing I would need is mental.
You need to be able to dribble.
Yeah, a dribbler. No, the first thing I want is mental toughness.
But why?
Why? Because there's only 4 of us, so we can all call our aunts and uncles and mothers and fathers to come and watch because we're playing. We're not sitting at the end of the bench like number 9, 10, 11, and 12, hoping I get 2 minutes. Every single player is playing. So if you're not mentally tough, or you're kind of one of those guys that gets a half injury and then you show the whole public that you're injured, that's probably not 3-on-3 is probably not for you. So I want a guy that may have a torn groin that decides he's going to say, I can give you at least a minute or 2. And then we have to deal with the outside of this, where are we looking after the athlete? We have to balance that. Like, Dave, why would you let Stilo go out there and do such a thing? And I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer, but Stilo went out there and did such a thing. So
but I would look at that.
Mental toughness. I want
absolutely
mental toughness, number 1, because Greg Heyer's out there fighting, Tim Conrad's out there fighting, and was that Waxy then, or was that?
Nah, that was Tommy.
Tommy.
But let's give some context, because you said that. But there's going to be the other side, and I think we live in this world where the sports science and the well-being of, I live in this well-being space, but I look at it and go like, even though it's a group of 4, there's a group of 6 trying to crack that Australian side. Yeah. And so I look at Stilo going maybe one of the most selfless acts in the world, because in order for him to do that, puts him out, he doesn't be able to play for a month or 2 or whatever it may be, but it puts us in a position to play in the World Cup.
We got the World Cup.
But in terms of, let's go traditional, because, let's be completely honest, if Stilo says, I'm not playing because of this situation, or, that, I would be looking at him in a different light. Like, I'd be like, just give me a possession or 2. Like, I would be selfish in that regard. But him being so selfless and so unselfish, I admire and respect the heck out of the guy. And I would have him on my team, in anything I do, whether it's playing croquet, because I know he's going to be. But and that's representing country. I don't think you can do that on 5-on-5. No. I think 3x3 is a different world. Like no hesitation, no doubt. You go, mate. We know, like there's been times and you get hit in the head, and you're like, and 5-on-5, it's concussion test and this whole protocol, and it's not the whole. And I understand the seriousness of it all. Yeah, you don't have time.
You don't have time, and we spoke about like being out there for one another, and the other side of that coin that most people don't talk about. In fact, I've never heard anyone talk about it. Is you, Timmy, and Tom did everything you could to not let him get out there. You guys played as hard as you could to not make him go out there. And then there was a point when you and Tim, it looked like you were looking for some sort of burial release, like you were looking for a grave. And, next thing you know, Stilo sees what I see. He jumps out on the court, And if we reminisce, that one or 2 minutes, whatever that was, in real time, not on the clock, all of a sudden Tim Conrad swings it and can't miss. So, that's the number one thing I'm looking for is mental toughness and the willingness to play through, and having their coach and their teammates say when no, enough is enough, we're not letting you play. But them wanting to play, I think, is the key differential there. Secondly, you need a well-rounded team, just as you do 5-on-5. So you need a guy that can. Most of the guys need to be able to shoot what you call the 2-ball, which is equivalent to the 3-ball. You need a hustle guy, an enforcer type guy that's, because there is some physicality there, and not everyone loves to play that way. So you need someone that's going to chest up one of the oppositions when they start to become too physical out there. And then, ironically, because I'm talking to you, you need a well-rounded player. And immediately, I'm not trying to say anything great or not, like scoring isn't in the NBL wasn't your go-to, but you actually are a all-around great player. You rebound, you're dedicated to defense, you're a willing passer, and what I call a pretty good playmaker out of the post. You're a pretty good scorer out of the post as well. And, there's 3 or 4 facets of every athlete that needs to be covered. So you can't just be, let's say Maddie Garrick was just a shooter. She ain't staying in the game. Now if you watch her and you watch her in the WNBL, she's guarding the best offensive player on the other team. Show me that 3 years ago. She ain't doing that. Look at Beck Cole, heart of the Lion. She's scoring all the time and defending people in the post and posting up. She's doing that, and let's be real, she's turning into a playmaker. She's passing the ball now, where 3-4 years ago, is straight down the tunnel. So, well-rounded player with a mental toughness and non-cancerous. They can't be selfish.
Selfish.
Selfish. You're so selfish.
Mate, I think that's the thing you see. Like even with Beck, you get pigeonholed in 5-on-5. So it's either at the start of your career, and then this format of the game allows you to blossom, mate. Well, I want to touch last thing, and obviously it would obviously make sense. You being the national pathway manager, what a role.
Lucrative, so lucrative.
Let's talk about the pathways.
Yeah.
I mean, what is your one? You'd love it, right? But we speak to state sporting bodies and or associations, and they ask us, you wish you'd have that, and some we wish they just say, yeah, we're doing it. But I mean, what are you suggesting, like in terms of what can Bus WA, Bus SA, whatever they do to grow this game? Because I think it's an Olympic sport, but even on that side, the opportunities are endless.
Yeah. I mean, we have 3x3Hustle, which is creating a path, and anyone that knows me knows I love an analogy. And I can start to see that we're in the forest, and there's like this somewhat of a path you can kind of see, but you can't. It's like a trampled gorilla path. You can't really tell if it's a path or not. And to 3x3's credit, there's a lot of adjustment being made as they find their way to the promised land, so to speak. And I think that's what we have to do in terms of 3-on-3 right now, is just have a willingness for this sport to succeed. That has to be our goal. Right now, we're trying to legitimize it. Like if I talk with my good friend, Tommy Greer, who actually played a lot of 3-on-3, he giggles about the sport versus me trying to stand up and say, nah, this is the real deal, and we're the Olympics now. So it's fantastic. 3x3Hustle, all the people that run that would attest to this. We need to find more and more players out there playing and to have a pathway. Because if you don't have enough people walking on the path, there's no pathway. But the thing we don't talk about a lot is coaching and referees. So the three things need to be simultaneous And my advice to the basketball WAs, basketball South Australia, is just get the 3-on-3 sport going, because almost every single organizer talks to me about finance, about how this can become economical. And I'm telling you right now, it is an amazing drill for your 5-on-5 players. You look at all of our players. I mean, it's hard with you go and still play in the league in WA, right? So it's hard to see, your growth. However, if you look at the Tom Wrights, the Andrew Steeles, and all the girls that are playing, they just get better and better and better. So right now, if you can't see the economies of the sport, think of it as a way to make your players better. And that's what I'm pushing for, is get leagues started. Get in touch with 3x3 Hustle, try to combine the two forces. But as you can see, there's leagues out there, doing this. And ultimately, we have to have all the same goal, and that's to make this sport a bit more widely known and widely participated in the three avenues: referees, coaches, and players.
Yeah, I agree. It's a no-brainer for me, and I think people see it and they initially not scared, but they go, like, they see that physicality side and they go, oh, like, that's a different game where it's not really a game. But people, I mean, you're a head coach at Nuttawading, I'm sure, I mean, at Wildcats, we did 3-on-3 drills all the time, like, and the same elements, like, and there was some drills too, like, that just were comparing them in contrast, the exact same physicality as 3x3, like, coaches never call fouls. So I look at it and go, from a young age, like, if I was an administrator at a junior club, I'd be playing 3-on-3 more than 5-on-5, because I go watch my nephew at under 10, and there is one good kid that dribbles up and down the court, and then there's 4 other kids. One's tying his shoelaces, and like, and
waving
I'm like,
to the mom, like,
I remember too. And then a kid falls over, and then mate, that was me. But look where I came. But look, 4 NBL championships. You're welcome. But
4.
Four. But I agree. Like, I don't see it as a competition to 5-on-5. I see it as a supplement, and it's like, hey, just give it a crack. Because as you see, like, we just saw in Adelaide, 60 teams played in a 3x3 Hustle event, and I guarantee you they would embrace it and love it. Like, it's
And for real, we understand, and we're not trying to point fingers. When I at the start of this interview or chat, I'm old. This is a podcast, isn't it?
No one would know.
No one would know. So, but anyway, at the start, I said, like, when I first watched the game, I was like, why aren't they calling the fouls? So I get why they think that. But if you look at the Tom Wrights, the Matty Garricks, the Alice Kunicks, all those players, they're not fouling out of games. In fact, what you're seeing is Tom Wright on the free throw line all the time, because part of the physicality is the offensive player being more aggressive to the defensive player too, which most refs call automatically. So, I think Tom Wright's a great one for anyone that doesn't know his history, to just see what he was prior to 3-on-3 versus what he is now. And I want to take the credit, but it's not. Is 3-on-3 really? Is 3-on-3 really taught him to create contact while he was finishing? And, his free throws are probably up 8 per game, which is great, So use it as a tool if that's all you can find. If you can't find the finance involved in the sport.
It doesn't cost money, that's the thing. And at all grounds, it's caught higher, and I think that's what you've got to take away. Don't use it as an opportunity to make money. Use it as an opportunity to develop your players, but as well as to open up opportunities for them. Because, there is, like, and I think it's only going to grow. We're not traveling now, but we see leagues in Japan, South Korea, China, New Zealand. There'll be opportunities for people that generally never would have existed in previously, because you're just like, there. So I think, run with it, mate. Would love to speak to you all day, but I understand you've got to water your plants and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
it's a fiddle tree, mate. It's a fiddle tree. I can send
But,
it to all your viewers, man.
nah, you. Well, all right,
I'm gonna send one branch, especially to that dude in Korea, Romania. That guy.
That's Jay Lee.
Yeah, that's Jay Lee.
Bro,
Man,
he's our guy.
I like this
handsome
hat,
dude.
Too. Handsome, and I think he's like 83.
I think he's older than you.
He's older than me, I think. But
yeah, that gives you hope.
Tighter skin, man.
he actually endorsed the last time I was in a tournament with him. This is often a bit weird, but I asked him, "What products are you using?" Because
oh my God,
your skin is beautiful.
Oh my God, that's weird. That's weird for you to say that publicly. Hey, but nowadays it's best to just be open with your feelings.
Absolutely,
so
right.
You feel confident enough.
Nah, it's all good. All right, bro, mate. I appreciate from on behalf of the 3x3 Hustle team. Appreciate you logging in this morning and also giving an insight into the pathways. I can say it again. You've been a huge influence in my basketball career and is my life as well, and the way you handle things, and you brought success in everything you've done. So I think the pathways in Australia are in good thing because it's exciting times for 3x3 basketball, and I think you're on top of that. So appreciate that, brother.
And
everyone else.
This podcast thing is awesome, and you're doing amazing things with it. It's pretty impressive. I keep hearing all about this, and normally with guys like you, radio is best, but you're really killing it, man. So keep it going. All right.
I appreciate it. With everyone else, tune in to Facebook, Instagram, and 3x3 Hustle social media pages. To everyone else, take care.